Alright guys, in today's video, we are doing a very exciting foundation review. This is the Cle De Peau The Foundation. See, it's such a fancy foundation, they don't even have to give it a name, they just call it The Foundation. So this was a really exciting foundation for me to get. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I have very dry skin, so for me this is something I really wanted to try out, especially because it is a light to medium coverage, they say. And I just thought it sounded so interesting. I obviously love luxury makeup, so I knew I had to try this out. I bought mine on the Holt Renfrew site. Again, that's usually where I buy my luxury makeup here living in Canada. And this cost me a hefty 335 Canadian dollars. I did get 15% off because Holt Renfrew was having a sale. And so that's kind of pushed me over the edge to try this out. But let's just read a little bit about this foundation. Cle De Peau Beauty Gel Oil Base Foundation hides imperfections and retexturizes skin for immaculate radiant finish. The luxurious rose-scented foundation contains Illuminating Complex EX, I don't know what that is, to hydrate, smooth, and visibly repair environmental skin damage with continual protection from aggressors. Texture improves with continued use. Providing medium coverage, skin appears naturally refined and looks radiantly younger. So this does contain an SPF 21 random, by the way. I just think it's absolutely stunning. I kind of want to go over the scent a little bit. So if you're familiar with By Terry, she has a very strong rose fragrance in her makeup products. This is definitely way less fragrance. It's just a very light fragrance, and I'm not offended by it. I usually don't like fragrance in my makeup products, specifically foundation or things that I'm going to be applying to my skin daily. But I feel like this is just very light. And I think the jar is just very beautiful. Like, you could definitely keep this afterwards, and you could even put like jewelry or something in it. It would be really nice for traveling if you wanted to put like your jewelry in here. Maybe I'm just being extreme thinking that way. But anyways, this is going to be a review on the foundation. I have been testing this out because I really wanted to be thorough with this one because it is so expensive, and I didn't want to just give a first impressions video. I really wanted to give it a test, so I've been testing this out for probably 3 weeks now, and I have formed my thoughts on it. We're gonna get into the full application. I'm gonna do, hopefully I'll make it to 10 hours. I want to do a 10-hour wear test to see how this wears. Notes about my skin: I have very dry, sensitive skin. But I think we should just get straight into the review. So if you want to know what I think about the Cle De Peau The Foundation and how it wears and applies, just keep watching this video. Before we get into the application, again, we're not getting straight into the video because I always forget this part. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Ring that bell so you're notified of all my new content, and don't forget to leave your comments down below. Let me know if there's any other foundations you want me to try. Let me know if you're gonna pick this up or if you want to try it, or if it was just fun to watch because it's an expensive foundation. And let's get straight into the application. So this is the gorgeous Cle De Peau The Foundation, which you've already seen obviously in my introduction. So I have the shade 040 here. I feel like it's maybe the tiniest bit too dark on me, but we will get it to work. Now, this is probably one of the only foundations that I don't shake up. Just for some reason, it being in this jar, I feel awkward shaking it. But I don't know, it's just so luxe. I adore this packaging. I feel like you could even get use out of this little jar once you're done with the foundation, just because, I don't know, it's just very beautiful. This is the color of that, and what I like to do with this is I've gone ahead and sanitized my hands. I take like a little pea-size amount and I just apply it onto a little palette. So I have my little Scott Barnes palette here. So what I do is I take that and I kind of mix it just onto my palette, and the texture is very unique for a foundation. It almost looks like it's a moisturizer that's tinted. It has that kind of feel to it. It feels very gel-like, almost like very hydrating, and just, yeah, like feel like a gel texture. I like to use it with a beauty blender best just because I always prefer to apply foundations that way. But I find that with this foundation, you need your beauty blender to be a little less damp than normal. So you almost want it to be not a dry sponge at all, but you want it to be a little less damp. So just really bring it out if you are using a beauty blender, just because the coverage is quite light on this. And so going on initially, it is very light coverage. Like I wouldn't say it's very light. It's not like a sheer coverage or anything like that, but it's definitely light coverage. And the way it goes on the skin is stunning. I hope that you can see it on camera, but it truly just adds a very beautiful veil of color, and it does really blur the appearance of imperfections, and it's not heavy in the slightest, and I just feel like it lays on the skin beautifully. I love how this foundation sits on my forehead too. I have a lot of issues with foundations either looking really dry or they settle into my forehead lines, and this one just lays beautifully over every area of my skin. It also doesn't settle in my little smile lines here, which is very, very rare for a foundation. And I just love that you can see my skin texture through. You can still see freckles, you can still see imperfections. If you are looking for full coverage, this is definitely not going to be for you. I'm going to take the rest of that foundation that's on my palette. So it's probably the equivalent, I'd say, to about 2 pumps. It's hard to know again because you're obviously not pumping out the foundation, but I wouldn't build this past the medium coverage. I don't even know if I'd consider this medium coverage. This is definitely something you could use on like a no makeup day because it's just truly very flattering over the skin. All right, so we have the foundation on and I love how this is looking. I truly think this is stunning. I love that you can see my skin showing through. You can see little imperfections. You can see all my freckles coming through, at least I can. I don't know, again, how it's looking on camera. I feel like it's not too dewy of a finish though. Like I don't feel like I look oily. I definitely look hydrated and my skin looks really plump and fresh and healthy and glowing, but it's not overly glowing. Like I said, like I feel like it's a very skin-like product. That is off initial application. So what I'm gonna do now is finish off the rest of my makeup. I'll go over everything that I'm wearing and then we will conclude the wear test. I should mention right now it's 11 a.m. I'm back with the rest of my makeup on and I just want to go over how I feel that this looks initially right after I finished everything. So I feel like this is a foundation that you definitely need to set. Obviously it is a more hydrating foundation. It's definitely on the dewier side, so I think it is important to set this one, especially if you're blending powder products on top. But the powder products do blend very beautifully on top of this. I don't feel like it patched up anywhere. I don't feel like there was any, like I didn't struggle with my blending over top of this foundation. And I love how it looks on my skin right now. I just feel like I look so radiant and healthy. But again, I don't look too oily or too dewy. I feel like this foundation is perfect for this time of year too because it is more on the hydrating side and I just love how fresh and beautiful it makes my skin look. It's really expensive, but it honestly just looks so gorgeous on the skin. I love how plumping it is. Sorry, I keep on looking in the viewfinder, but and in my mirror because I really want to be critical on this one and I really want to give you good points on this because it is so high price tag, but just, it really is lovely. I would say the only area maybe of, I really am struggling to find a negative about this foundation, but I would say maybe just in my pore areas, not that it even emphasizes them, and I'm not wearing any other primers, I should have mentioned that. Underneath, I just went in with my normal skincare. And I do think this is a foundation where I would like to use a pore perfecting primer just because I usually like to do that anyways. And it's not emphasizing my pore area at all, but that's probably just the one thing that I would change is that I would use a pore primer underneath. I love the way this looks. It's not settling into my forehead wrinkles at all, not sitting into my fine lines. I think it honestly looks very youthful, gorgeous. This is definitely a great go-to daily foundation. For the daytime, I also would wear this out at night, obviously. I don't feel like the coverage is too minimal, but it's definitely a light to medium coverage. And you know what? I think this foundation would look beautiful with the Sisley Blur Expert Powder underneath as a primer. I bet that would make it shine even more, but very happy with how it's looking so far. I just want to quickly go over what I'm wearing on the rest of my face. So for my eyes, I used a combination of the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Hypnotize as well as the Pat McGrath. This is the Iconic Illumination. I used the gold shimmer shade and the bronze shade. And then what else did I use? I used my Laura Mercier mascara. For powder, I used my Givenchy powder. I've been obsessed with this lately. Used the Chantecaille bronzer, which I love. I used the Guerlain Meteorites, the Golden Land collection as my blush today, and I just love that kind of copper tone that it gives. And for highlight, I use my Tom Ford Reflex Gilt highlighter. And then for my lips, I use the Sisley. This is the Phyto lip liner in the shade Nude. I went in with Dance Floor Princess and my Chanel gloss over top. And I also used the Tom Ford Emotionproof and Gigolo on my waterline. And that is it for makeup. So what I'm going to do is come back in a few hours. So right now it is 11:30. I'm gonna come back in a few hours and we will check up and see how this makeup is wearing. And I am not going to touch up, just so you know. But I'll be back in a few hours with my first check-in. We're here for the first check-in. The time is now, okay, it says it's 3:56. It's actually not 3:50. My phone, for whatever reason, is 6 minutes fast. But I have my notepad. I've been taking notes on how this foundation is wearing. So I've gone out for lunch, I've ran a few errands, and I just want to go over with how it's wearing so far. So it's been about 4 hours, just over 4 hours. And I think it looks really, really amazing. I don't have any complaints thus far. It's a really beautifully wearing foundation in that it doesn't feel heavy on your skin. You know, sometimes when you put on a foundation and you're going throughout your day, and by the end of the day, you just feel it's, I don't know, it's a heavy product, or you feel like, I have product on and it's uncomfortable, I just want to take it off. As the day goes on, I am not getting that feeling from this foundation. It also hasn't settled into any lines or any like wrinkles or anything. It hasn't settled into any pores. It's not breaking apart anywhere. It's not looking dry. It's not looking oily because this is a hydrating foundation, not greasy anywhere. Sorry, I'm trying to look up really close so I can really give you guys my full opinion on this. It's not settling around my nose either. And let's just come back in a few hours and we will see how this foundation is holding up. Okay guys, I have just gotten home from dinner and it is now 9:30. I don't know if you can see the time here at night. So I've been wearing this foundation. I think it's been like 10 hours and 30 minutes. And I would like to go over my thoughts. So I feel like, as you can see, this foundation still looks stunning. Like, I honestly am pretty mind blown by how it looks after 10 hours. I will say it's gotten, I don't even want to say oily because I don't feel like I look oily at all, but I just can see that it's a little more dewy looking just right on the center of my face. It's very minimal though, and yeah, I don't know, I just feel like I could probably use a little bit of a blot here. I don't even think I would need to powder. And I just love how this foundation sits on the skin. It's a foundation that wears very beautifully. It doesn't settle, it doesn't cake up at all. It retains its coverage in the areas that you've applied it to. But this isn't a heavy coverage foundation. This is definitely a light coverage foundation. If you needed to build it up, I would say the furthest you could go is probably to a medium coverage. But I just feel like it wears very beautifully. I love how it's sitting on my forehead. Usually by the time I reach this hour point, I find foundations settle into my forehead line or into smile lines, but I just feel like this looks really, really pretty, and I don't know, it doesn't look heavy at all in those areas, and that's a tendency that most foundations usually have, and it feels so comfortable on the skin. I can't emphasize that enough. It feels like you have just a lightweight moisturizer on your skin. I've been wearing this for 10 hours, and usually at this point I want to just take all my makeup off. I'm so, I don't know, you know, you just have your makeup on all day and it feels heavy, but this feels so lightweight. Let's just go over who this foundation is good for. I would suggest this foundation if you have dry skin, if you have mature skin, if you have aging skin. This is definitely going to be something that would look absolutely amazing on you. And I know that I don't have mature skin. I'm 29 and I'm not claiming to have that, but I've worked on clients in the past and I just feel like this would be perfect for aging skin. Maybe I'll give a sample to my mom and have her try it out, and I don't know if she would be up for it, but if she would, maybe she could do like a wear test and I could get her input on it, because I just feel like for the price, it's important to get as many people's opinion as possible. And I just feel like this would do really, really well on mature skin. That's my opinion, and I stand by that. So if you're wondering my final thoughts on this, I just feel like I've been talking so much about everything about it that I didn't really even tell you if I liked it or not. I love this foundation. I really, really love it. And I don't know, I feel like I'm more critical when it comes to really high price point products. So for me to say I love it is a big deal. I just think it looks gorgeous, and I'm never underwhelmed when I wear this foundation. I'm always really impressed by it. So I do recommend it. Do I think you should save up 335 Canadian dollars, or I think it's probably like 250 US dollars if I'm converting that rate right, but around that amount. No, it's not that amazing, but I do really love this foundation. I think it's beautiful, and it's a foundation that I would repurchase if I ran out of it. So if that's something to say to you, then hopefully that means something. But yeah, again, don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments down below, ring that bell, and I will see you in my next video.